Hello and welcome to this example session. In this film we're going to explore how to use the BUAH collection. We'll choose a theme from the online resources, pick an artwork within that theme and learn how to discuss it in a small group. By the end of this film you should feel confident that you could run your own session around this artwork, but also use it as a template to run further sessions supported by the online resources as you explore the BUAH collection. For today's session I've chosen an artwork by Solomon J. Solomon and it's called The Breakfast Table. It was painted in 1921, it's oil on canvas, and it's from the theme Sense of Art. There are other works under this theme which you can find in the online resources. Before we begin, let's just remind ourselves what we've done to set up for today's session. So we've told the relevant staff, it's organised, it's in the calendar. With that comes the tea and coffee. We've organised for that to arrive at a certain time, very central to making everyone feel welcome and like it's something special. We've invited the relevant people. We've got our group ready to come. They know what time they're coming and what place they've got to be. For today's session, the breakfast table is really good for discussing interiors and the sort of things that you find and touch in your home. The first thing that you notice about this painting are the textiles, the array of cushions and chintzy fabrics that make up this very comfy, cosy looking atmosphere. We can imagine what it would be like to be there, and we can probably think of places we've visited that are similar or houses we've known, maybe even our own homes. So there's lots of scope to discuss that environment in a sensory way. Let's talk about the resources. I've printed off copies of the picture so that everyone's got one in front of them, and that's got the title and the artist's name on there too. I'm then going to use my information sheet. The information on the sheet is for you to use. It's not to be read out because that will feel quite robotic and it will feel boring. You want to use those points to refer to and to spark off when people make a point that you want to expand on. I've then given 5 starting points on the information sheet. So you want to let these happen naturally, but if there's a bit of a lull, you can start people off. The first point we might want to discuss would be the fabrics. They're really luxurious. The chairs have little frilly bits at the bottom. The cushions are a different fabric to the chairs. There's a tablecloth. It's really decorative and quite opulent, so there's lots to discuss in the fabrics in this piece. The next point might be the paintings. There's 6 paintings in the background of this picture. The majority of them are portraits. So who might those portraits be? It depends perhaps on the type of home that we're looking at, if it even is a home. Next up you could discuss the objects. So there's a clock, there's candlesticks, there's a breakfast table as per the title of the piece. Who owns objects like this? Are they functional or are they perhaps more decorative? Do these people use the objects in this room or are they purely for show and they actually have servants? Who knows, but they tell you a lot about the people that are in the scene. And talking of these figures, we can see one really clearly. She's facing us holding up her paper, but who is she? And we can only just see the arm and leg of another person sat in a chair with their back to us. These people aren't talking, so they're obviously very comfortable with each other. Who do we think they might be? And finally, the atmosphere of the room. For me, it feels like it's very cosy, the red on the walls and the colours of the fabrics, everything feels comfortable and soft and a place that you might be relaxed and very homely. But perhaps that's not how your group would feel about it, so ask them what they feel the atmosphere is. It might be that they interpret the fact these 2 people aren't talking to each other as quite a frosty atmosphere. It also tells us more about the actual artwork. The information sheet has everything that I might need to know to lead this discussion. This also prepares me for any direct questions, so sometimes people want to know straight away. They want to know a fact about this painting so they can start to bond with it and start to think about what they like. And that's fine, just be sure not to give everything away because you want to keep some points back for your discussion. It also gives me more information about the artist. So it might tell you where they lived and worked, if they were professionally trained or if they were self-taught, also the impact on that artist of any major world events like war or significant events in politics, and finally any art movements they were a part of. Someone might comment on how professionally the painting has been executed, that it looks like it was done by someone who had proper training, and then you could bring in that they studied at the Royal Academy. Okay, so we have everything in place. As the group arrives, be sure to welcome everyone in, make sure everyone feels personally welcomed and that they're meant to be there. This might be a good time to do tea and coffee, or it might be that you want to save that for later on. There's no rush to get started, so you can take your time over this bit. The most important thing is that everyone's got somewhere to sit that's comfortable, they're not in the way, they can hear you, they can see what you're talking about. It's really important to frame the session each time so that everybody knows when you're starting, why you're there, whether you've been doing this before, because not everyone will necessarily remember, how long you're going to be together, what you're doing, and what the kind of general aim of the session is. Remember, it's really important that you don't end up with a teacher-class kind of dynamic. And the way to get around that really is to be friendly and personal with everyone. These are people you know and you see most days. So all those things go to establish an environment that's equal and where we're all ready and in the right frame of mind to talk together as one group. To get the discussion process started, I like to ask everyone to look really closely at the painting. We'll probably do this without talking to each other so that everyone's really focusing, and you can offer help as to what they might be looking for. That might be the colours, the figures, how it's all laid out, what materials the artist used, anything that looks strange or the thing that first caught your eye. Try to think ahead and ask questions which generate more questions. So for example, if I ask, do you like the colours? Then that's a yes or no answer and the conversation kind of stops there. But if I was to say, I just don't know whether these colours are very cheery, they create a funny mood, then there's more to discuss there and that prompts people to respond to me. By this point we've probably established that we're looking at the artist's home and his family, and this is where we want to be a little bit sensitive, discussing the idea of home. That can be trickier for some people, perhaps you're working in a residential setting where that could be a bit problematic. These artworks are here to get your discussion going, but also to anchor it throughout. So just be sensitive to the tone and the mood of the conversation. If there's any reason that anyone's getting distressed, or if the conversation's taking a route that you don't think is helpful for your discussion, just lead it back to the artwork, ask direct questions, use people's names, and try and bring some structure back to your session. It can take a few sessions for everyone to feel comfortable discussing the artwork, and that's totally natural. It might feel a little bit awkward at times, but there are ways you can alleviate that. And it's for you to give your opinions as well. The gallery can't hear you. It's fine to hate something if you really hate it. Alternatively, you might love it. This is about a conversation. It's about the experience and getting to the stories that these artworks evoke. Each group member has a right to express their opinion about this artwork and to be heard and to share that with their group. This is all about being together. These are people that you know and work with every day, so nobody is more equipped to run this session than you are. There's lots more information on the online resources, but the most important thing is that you run it your way. They're people that you work with and that you know, so have fun, get together, make it a social event, and get creative.